all the off-court stuff is super interesting. On-court, it speaks for itself. He's unlike anyone the league has ever seen. He can play like Kevin Durant. He can go down and play like Shaq. He can shoot the three. Like the 50-point game night, he took 16 threes and made 8 of them. Like, what?
What is up, everybody, and welcome to CTW Special Edition. I'm your host, Seamus Zarlingo. Alongside of me today, my two co-hosts, Justin Lowe, got the point right, and Nick Franco, and of course, our special guest, San Antonio Spurs play-by-play announcer, Jacob Tobey. Jacob, welcome to the broadcast. How are you doing today?
Thank you, boys. I appreciate it. And it's still kind of surreal to hear people like introduce me as that, because I'm still newish to the league. Like I just finished my first year, so it's still cool to hear that, because that was the goal. Since I was born, that was the goal, to hear that. So it's really cool whenever people introduce me like that. So I'm doing great. It's great.
Yeah. Go ahead, Franco. Go ahead.
Yeah,
I mean, you guys have the connection here. You guys have the connection. I'll say that. Franco, if you want to touch on it for people here.
People might be wondering what is going on, why Celtics Talk Weekly is collaborating with the San Antonio Spurs, but it's because we have a mutual connection. Jacob Tobey was a school attendant at my alma mater, Sturgis Charter School, and also grew up on Cape Cod as well.
Yeah, dude, you got to represent the Sturgis Storm proudly.
Oh, you're a Storm?
Yeah, that's what we are.
Awesome, yeah.
Oh, wow, he has a jersey. I don't even have a jersey.
West Campus. They were trying to throw him out, so.
I was East Campus all the way. 2 campuses, very different setup for high school.
Definitely.
We don't need to go into all those details, but yeah.
No, that was a big point of conversation before he got in here, Jacob. It was is he from the East, or is he from the other side?
No Gators
around here. Is Franco gonna have problems in here or not? We don't know.
The East is the OG campus. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. We also have access to Main Street, so
yeah.
Everybody on that side, they're in agreement on the East, right? Sturgis
Absolutely.
East, though. Sturgis East. But ultimately, I mean, you're now down there in San Antonio, and you made it all the way there from Cape Cod, and you were able to find your first broadcasting opportunity on Cape Cod with the Cape Cod Baseball League. What was it like starting your media career on Cape Cod and starting at that very point? What exactly made you pursue a media career?
Yeah, I think I got super lucky that I just happened to be born on Cape Cod, where the best summer collegiate baseball players get to play every summer. And I got super lucky that each team, has announcers that get to broadcast the games. These players come from all over the country. They're the best baseball players in the world, in college. But the teams are starting to bring broadcasters in. And so the best broadcasters from all over the country get to go and live on the Cape for a summer. And so when I heard that I could broadcast the Cape Cod Baseball League, I was like, whoa, like this is super cool. I won't, like, when these guys come, they have to stay with host families or have to pay for places to stay. I could just literally live at home, with my parents and go do games every single night. So I was applying to different teams. The first year I interned with just the league in general in broadcast, doing radio updates every couple of days. I was writing articles for the league website. I was helping out with their 1 week broadcast on WEI Cape Cod. And then the next year I got hired by the Wareham Gatemen to do their full slate of games as the play-by-play guy. And it was the best training, because baseball is every single day. You have to get into a super, super finite routine, and it really trains you well. Baseball is so hard because there's so much time to fill. It's very nuanced. There's a lot of different statistics. And so it really teaches you to fill time, really know what you're talking about. And I love baseball. And so I did that for 2 summers. And I think, that was when I was in college. And when I was in high school at Sturgis, at our high school, I kind of makeshift started a radio station with my best friend Kevin. So we were both on the soccer team. We were both captains, but he knew that I wanted to be a play-by-play guy in high school. And so he's like, we should start a radio station. And so I started broadcasting the baseball games online on this thing called Blog Talk Radio, which doesn't even exist anymore, I don't think. and then he would announce my basketball games because I was playing basketball, so I couldn't do basketball. And like I said, we were on the soccer team. I got hurt my senior year, like 3 games in, and so I had to miss the rest of the year. So I just started announcing the soccer games too. So I just got hooked early on. I always sort of wanted to be a play-by-play guy. I think obviously all of us realize we're not good enough to play at the highest level, and so
Especially playing at Syracuse,
when I found out I could have a cool job, I was like, whoa. And so like Mike Gorman was such a, he was my idol growing up, and I wanted to be exactly like him. And 10 years down the road, I got to know him a little bit, and now I'm in the league. And so it's really wild. But yeah, the Cape Cod League was like the ultimate start. And I was coming from not a big time broadcasting school. All these guys and gals come from Syracuse, Arizona State, massive broadcasting schools, Missouri. And I was coming from Suffolk University in Boston, great journalism school, more on the TV news side, not necessarily the play-by-play side. So I was already going in with a chip on my shoulder anyways. This Division III kid coming in, hometown kid, what's this kid got? And I was broadcasting with guys from Arizona State. And I felt like I had to step up my game. And so I did that for 2 summers, and it was like the best training, the media training you could ever get.
Definitely. One thing I've noticed about the Boston market as we've all taken on the broadcast media journey is there is definitely a higher rate of competition in the positions that you're going for. Everyone is starting after those jobs with the Boston Celtics. A lot of people want to become the next Mike Gorman, and being able to compete and learn in that Boston market, did that translate over for when you were receiving offers and opportunities elsewhere, such as Oklahoma City and San Antonio and Denver?
Yeah, it did. I think that's why I wanted to go to Suffolk. That's why I wanted to be in Boston. Like, I applied to Syracuse. That was like the only school I applied to outside of New England, outside of really Massachusetts. And I didn't even get in. So they'll regret that one day. Maybe they'll regret it now. I don't know. But
Syracuse Orange.
Hey,
not good reviews
I just had to put it out. I just had to put it out there. No, I'm just kidding.
Take that, Drew Carter.
Drew's a friend, so I have all. I love all those guys.
We love Drew over here.
Yeah, no, they're all amazing. They're very talented, and so I just think like I wanted to be in Boston because I knew there would be so many opportunities, right? I mean, I got to intern with CLNS Media covering the Celtics literally my first day on the job with CLNS Media as an intern was to go down to training camp at Salve Regina and cover Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward. Like that was their opening like practice, and I got to be there. So I was around the Celtics a lot. I interned at 98.5 The Sports Hub and was on the Patriots radio broadcast, like producing and like running and going and get food and like doing the intern BS. And I just got to meet so many people through those 2 avenues, all the while I was at school doing my basically news reporter work at school, and then on the side doing a talk radio show. I was announcing our Suffolk soccer games on the radio, basketball games. We were doing streams. I would go out and do games for other schools. I did games for MIT. I went and took the train to Worcester and did Holy Cross games. Like I was everywhere in the city or going to Worcester, like just to announce games. And so I think it instilled in me this, like, you have to go get it mindset. I could learn from guys like Mike Gorman. I could learn from guys like Bob Socci with the Patriots. I could learn from anyone in the business, in the space that I was meeting in these places. And I was putting myself in a position where I could succeed and have all these opportunities. I just told myself, I'm going to be the busiest guy in my grade and my class in my school and use my time wisely. No doubt, I still had a lot of fun in college. I studied abroad. I did all that. But when I was in school, like I went hard and like pretended I was already in the business for real. And so I had 2 to 3 jobs, right? Because we all, we do these things. We go on radio, we call games, we do talk shows, we write articles. Like, you need to be so versatile in this business. So I was already trying to be ahead of that stuff. So I think being in Boston just like fueled it, because there was 4 pro teams, so many good announcers, people on the news, people on the radio. Like it fueled me. So I love, thinking back to that time, because I was just a guy that going to work every single day, pretty much.
And a big thing we talked about on this program, unfortunately, while the Celtics were being eliminated by the Knicks in the playoffs last year, is don't just talk about it, be about it, right? And I feel as if the standards you set for yourself is not just talking about being in the media sphere, you're in the media sphere. That's what we've always talked about here, is actually doing the work, right? That's important in media. But you've done a ton of media work over time, and you've been in different cities. I mean, you've been up in the New England area, obviously, media up there, Oklahoma City, Denver, and now San Antonio. How did you make it to each one of these locations, and how did you find the opportunities at these locations?
Yeah, so I basically, when I was graduating college, I applied to everything. I applied to play-by-play jobs in minor league baseball. I applied to newspaper jobs. I applied to local TV jobs, and it's really, really hard to get a play-by-play job out of college. So I sort of knew that I would probably end up being a sportscaster on the news for a little bit. And so that was what happened. So I actually got hired for a news station, the NBC station in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So that's like an hour 15 from Oklahoma City. And I got there and had no idea even where Oklahoma was on the map, but it was market number 61. So in local television, they ranked the cities from, the highest ranked market to the lowest. I think there's like over 200 media markets or whatever. And to start in market 61 as a 21-year-old was actually really, really, really good, because a lot of my friends were starting in market 120, 150, 199. And so when I got to Tulsa, I was like, all right, this is great. I have a great opportunity. I didn't know anything about Oklahoma. I didn't know anything about college sports, because we grew up in New England. It's all about the pro teams. Like, we don't really care about college. So I had to learn college football on the fly. I was covering the Sooners. I was covering Oklahoma State. I was covering the University of Tulsa football, basketball. And so that really got me going in the college space. But then I would also get to drive down and go to Oklahoma City and cover the Thunder from time to time. And I made that trip worth it every single time. I went there and I introduced myself to NBA broadcasters that I would see come through the building. I would pretend to announce games to myself. I would get all my work done for the news station, right? If there was a playoff game, for example, I think it was like Blazers Thunder, that year that I think Damian Lillard hit that big shot in the playoffs to sink the Thunder. I would go upstairs into an unknown like booth and just announce the game into my camera, or record it, pretend I was on the radio, and like get reps that way, and just save that tape and use it, for feedback from my mentors or for other people. I would, like I said, introduce myself to people. I had known Brian Scalabrine from when I was interning in Boston. So when the Celtics came to town, Scal knew I was there, and so we were catching up. And I was like, dude, can we record like a practice open to like a broadcast? He's like, let me ask Paul Lucy, our producer. Paul said yes. So I got to hop on there as a 21-year-old. The crew let me record something with Scal. It was amazing. It was eye-opening. Like that, I used that to apply to other things, and that was just a practice thing. But people saw that I could do it, and so that made me be like, okay, this kid has something. Like, he's with Scal, he's presentable, he looks good, he sounds good, all that sort of thing. I had an agent at the time, and they really liked that idea. So just doing that sort of stuff, going down to OKC, really, really started like my name being brought up in like NBA conversations. And then I was there for 2 years, and then COVID happened, so there was no live sports going on. So I really couldn't get any play-by-play jobs that way. And so, but there was still news openings happening around the country, like sports on the news. And so that's where Denver came in. I worked for the NBC station in Denver, moved there during COVID, covered the Broncos, covered the Nuggets, covered the Avalanche, covered the Rockies for 4 years. The Nuggets won the championship in 2023, and I was right in the thick of it. I was with the team the whole time in the playoffs. I was in the locker room celebrating after doing my job, interviewing all the guys. We were then celebrating because it was a cool moment, first championship in almost 50 years for them. But on the side in Denver, I was calling college basketball. I started doing Division II out there, and then I did Wyoming games for a little bit. And then Fox Sports wanted to hire me for a couple games. And then the Pac-12 Network wanted to hire me. So it all snowballs. And I was starting off just doing Colorado games, University of Colorado, Buffalo games. Then they started flying me out to different places, to Utah, to Oregon, to USC. I did Bronny James's debut on the Pac-12 Network. Like, that stuff started happening. And your name gets thrown around even more. And then the NBA, again, had heard about me, so they brought me on to do some G League work in Vegas at their G League showcase for NBA TV, and so I did G League games. And then the Spurs sort of heard about me through that way and through another avenue, through a mentor I have. And now I'm here. So your name travels when you put in that work and you put in that time. And so I was always just all over the place. I was introducing myself. I would always make it clear, hey, I'm Jacob. I work at, this news station or that news station, but I want to call games in the NBA one day, and I'm working towards that. So I always just made sure to state my goals to everywhere I went, even if it was my bosses at the news stations too. And they understood, like they got it. I worked super hard for them, but at the same time, they knew what I really wanted to do,
And you've obviously done a lot in media, as you're explaining, and now you're a play-by-play commentator for the Spurs, which brings a whole different challenge than all of what you've done in the past. How does it compare going from being a news anchor in Denver to being a play-by-play host with the San Antonio Spurs? What kind of changes in lifestyle does that bring?
Oh, lifestyle. Geez, we're so fortunate because we get to travel with the team. We get to stay in these very nice hotels. We get to fly in a private plane. Like that stuff is otherworldly. I dreamed about it growing up, and now I'm, sitting on the plane with all these guys, and it's crazy in these amazing hotels. And we go from city to city, and you're just with the team. Everything revolves around the team, right? When I was covering the Nuggets for 9 News in Denver, I was there, but I wasn't, because I was also doing stuff with the Broncos. I was also in studio doing college football. And so you're kind of doing everything at the news station. Whereas with the Spurs, I'm just calling their games. I'm at every practice. I'm getting to know the guys. I know everyone's story really well. And I think that's the main difference, right? You're an everyday person with the Spurs versus you're covering a broad range of topics with the news station. And it's amazing, right? I mean, our schedule is so crazy because we work pretty much almost every other day or every day from October or September till April or whenever your team's eliminated, right? And summer's kind of slow. News station's always going. There's always a story. There's always something going on. Off season, training camp, trades, free agency. There's always stuff going on, but there's no games for me to call in the summer, really, unless I was doing baseball. So that's sort of the main difference between the two.
Yeah, and obviously too, if anybody works in media, there's a lot of career moments, right? Have you had a career moment yet in San Antonio? You've only been on the play-by-play for one season, which I expect many more seasons lay in front of you. But have you had a career moment with the Spurs thus far?
I mean, I think like my third week on the job, Wemby scored 50 points, and it was amazing. And like my voice was everywhere. It was on social media. It was on, wherever you looked, really. And so for him to do that, for my voice to be attached to that, like that's super cool. I just feel like it's such a big responsibility. I'm documenting history. I'm documenting not only his career, but every player's career on, either the Spurs or another team, right? Whoever we're playing. Right. So I just feel a big responsibility to live up to that moment. And so I felt like I did that in the 50-point game. And that was probably the most memorable game. And that happened really early. The Spurs had so much going on last year, with Pop only coaching a handful of games and then having to leave, with Victor getting, the blood clot after, ironically, the last game he played was in the Garden in Boston, which was an awesome moment for me and my family. My whole family was there. They rented out a whole freaking suite. Like, it was insanity. All my friends were there from high school and college, and my middle school best friends. And that night was the last time we saw Wemby for a long time. So those were like two memorable moments in the season, but there were so many others, like big time dunks from the Rookie of the Year, Steph Castle, who was in the dunk contest. I can't list everything that happened last year, but those and just meeting Coach Pop too, like, was an all-time high for me. I think like he was super, super nice, super genuine. You hear things about Coach Pop, right? Especially living on the East Coast, where we didn't get to watch the Spurs a lot, didn't hear too much about them. You just would see them from time to time on national TV. Right. But to actually get to meet the guy, the legend, and just understand him was a thrill for me. So those were sort of the standouts, I think.
Your voice is actually trending as of 24 hours ago. There was a crazy play that I'm sure Justin isn't too big of a fan of. As you can see in the top right of his corner, he has the Luke Kornet jersey. Wembanyama was looking had a viral play going to the rim, pushing him to the side, looked like a pure hybrid of Kevin Durant and Shaquille O'Neal going to the rim. What was the well, first off, we want to say how jealous as Celtics fans we are of you guys being able to have open scrimmages in the arena. That seems like a complete free opportunity for fans to come together and be able to enjoy the team and be able to have those introductory moments to the team. But from what you saw yesterday in that opening scrimmage, it's looking like there's a new outlook to this team, and also there's been a lot of improvements within Wembanyama's game and had a lot of mentors throughout the offseason.
The open scrimmage is a really great idea. They've been doing it for a little while, at least here in San Antonio, and I know some other teams do it around the league too. It was a different energy in there, I think, from last year because the Spurs fans hadn't seen Victor in 6 months or whatever it was, right? That last game was February, right before the All-Star break. So it had been a while. And so the anticipation of just seeing him out there, we had known he's been healthy. The coaching staff has told us that. The fans have heard that. But to actually see it is another thing. And yes, that move did come against Luke Kornet, little shove, get out of my way, and then dunked it literally like Shaquille O'Neal. It was just like, I'm back. I'm going to have a phenomenal season. Like, that was just sort of what was emulating off of him, right, from that moment. And the energy in the building was great. I mean, I think there was like almost 12,000 people there, and it was free. So the Spurs did a great job of putting on a great show. They made the rookies do karaoke after the game, and that was entertaining. And it was just fun to see some of the newcomers. Now, there were some guys that didn't play. De'Aaron Fox is dealing with an issue. Dylan Harper is injured right now, the number 2 pick, so we didn't see him. A couple other guys didn't suit up, but it's sort of all revolved around seeing Victor healthy, and it's viral, as you said. And we did like a stream of it. I was doing just sort of color for like half the thing. I was popping on. Dan Weiss, our radio guy, was handling the play-by-play, and I was talking about something completely different than Wemby, and all of a sudden he just blows down the court and does that. So I was like, oh, whoa, and just like that's all you could say because it was like his first big play since he's been back.
And we see all the highlight reels of Wemby. We see him in games, and every time I see him, it's just one of the more entertaining basketball players to watch out of just the whole plethora of basketball players available in the world, EuroLeague, CBA, everywhere, NBA, obviously. But from your perspective on the sidelines, what has been the most entertaining component of covering Victor Wembanyama so far?
I don't know if there's one specific thing. I think it's the whole deal. It's the whole package. He's so unique. He's such a smart 21-year-old person. It is unbelievable. We had interviews with him a couple weeks ago for our content day where we can use interviews for different stuff on the broadcast or pregame show or whatever. And we got into this like 5-minute discussion about space. And like, he is so in on space and reading. He loves reading. He's always got a book in his hand. Like, Jokic gave him a lot of crap for having a book in the All-Star game locker room last year. Like, all the off-court stuff is super interesting. On-court, it speaks for itself. He's unlike anyone the league has ever seen. He can play like Kevin Durant. He can go down and play like Shaq. He can shoot the three. Like, the 50-point game night, he took 16 threes and made 8 of them. Like, what? He's, he does something every single night where you just can't describe it. You gasp. And I look over at Sean Elliott, who's my partner, who's seen 24 years of Spurs games as an announcer, plus playing for the Spurs and winning a championship.
Right.
And we just
stare at each other. Spurs basketball.
We just look over and we're like, WTF? Like, what is going on? And for me, it's just super exciting to try and bring that energy and enthusiasm and meet the moment of anything he does. And so whether it's a crazy dunk or a big three or a 50-point game, it's all in one. And he's a super special person. He's starting this new fan section that the Spurs are going to have in their arena every single home game, kind of like what you see in Europe, a supporter section in soccer. His favorite soccer team is PSG, Paris Saint-Germain, and he went over there in the summer and was like, you know what, I want to start this for the Spurs. And so last night was our first glimpse at it. There was a bugle horn or whatever you call it, and there was a drum, and like it's going to grow over time and like hopefully turn into something that's like nonstop craziness inside the arena. So he just always is thinking of ways to invent new things, both on and off the court. He worked with Kevin Garnett this summer. Obviously, like for me, that was super cool to hear and see the picture of. I'm like, I grew up idolizing KG. He worked with Hakeem Olajuwon this summer too. So he's just hitting all areas of life. He's winning life, as I would put it.
I want to shift this conversation to Luke Kornet, not just because I like to call myself, a Kornetic, like a fanatic, but of Luke Kornet.
That is the first time I've ever heard that. I gotta say, Kornetic.
We got to trademark that.
I'll trademark it ASAP. But no, I love Luke Kornet and what he brought to Boston and this championship team. And just really quick, we'll get to your thoughts on Luke Kornet, but like for me, I wasn't around when Bill Walton was a Celtic, but that's about the last time I think the Celtics have had a backup big man who could provide such a humongous role on a championship team. So I do make that comparison a little bit, when we talk about the significance of a role that Luke Kornet played, and we talk about, Bill Walton in the 80s with the Celtics just for those couple of years, and he immediately made a huge impact with the team. And that's kind of what Luke Kornet was with the Celtics team, right? Like he came in a dominant three-point shooter, a perimeter threat, like one of the greatest college three-point shooters of all time, played in New York, Chicago, stretched the floor, hit 7 threes in a game for New York, comes to Boston, started shooting threes. We're talking about a high pick and roll player now, playing that low dunker spot. How excited are you for this acquisition for the San Antonio Spurs? I mean, Luke Kornet, that's a big time free agent signing. You might not be thinking that about 2 years ago, but now coming off a championship, Luke Kornet coming to the San Antonio Spurs to either back up Victor Wembanyama or put alongside Victor Wembanyama, that's one hell of a pickup for you guys this offseason.
And Olynyk.
Yeah, and 2 former Celtics coming to the Alamo City, which is again just a guy growing up watching the C's. That's cool. And now that I'm affiliated with the Spurs and all in on the Spurs, like that's amazing to see. I think Luke is, you guys know, I mean, superb individual, funny as heck, great locker room guy, great interview. Loved getting to know him over the last couple of days. And he fits in super well. And I the big question is like, are they going to play them together, Victor and Luke? And Luke has said they've already tried it in practice. So 2 7-footers out there is wild and going to be fun and interesting because the Spurs defense, basically the first third of the season was actually their strength. And then it dipped down. Obviously you lose Victor after the All-Star break. Like that's going to hurt you. So they were 25th in defensive rating. So, and Victor led the league in blocks. So without having played half the year, which is crazy.
I was just going to say, he played half the year.
So someone to spell him now as a backup or play together is something that they just haven't had the last couple of years. Dan and I were talking about it on the broadcast last night. He mentioned the word depth, and it's just something that they haven't seen here in a couple of years. It's been a while since they made the playoffs, and there's all this excitement now that they have guys that they can go to off the bench that have experience, that have won big games, that have been in, like Luke Kornet, been in the NBA Finals and won it. You can bring that experience to the locker room is great. And just his rim presence on both ends. Last night, you just lob it up to him. He puts it up quick. Like, I love that about Luke. He's always just quick hands, lay it up and in. And so I just think it's a perfect fit. And he doesn't have to play a ton of minutes. Like, he can come in and he'll be happy with whatever, right? So it's a perfect fit. And Olynyk, the same thing. Olynyk, the shooting, a career year from 3 last year. The Spurs need 3-point shooting. They need people out on the perimeter when Wembanyama's down there so he can kick it out and they can spray him. Or if he gets an offensive rebound, kick it out, spray him. They lack the 3-point shooting. That is known. Everyone knows that around the league. That's why people are questioning, can Fox, Castle, and Dylan Harper all play together? Their shooting numbers aren't the greatest. So if you have guys like Barnes, Olynyk that can knock down threes while those other guys are out there, Wemby, like it's going to make sense. And so I think picking those two guys up, A+.
I wonder, and I want to, kind of get your thought on this, but I wonder what role Luke Kornet is going to play with the San Antonio Spurs. And the reason I say that is because, I mentioned before with New York, with Chicago, he was primarily a 3-point threat. He comes into Boston these last specifically 2 years. We haven't seen any 3-point shooting out of him. I mean, his attempts are way down. And he's turned into this kind of, like you said, rim protector on defense, quick around the rim on offense. Is there any chance that have you seen any experimenting of Luke Kornet extending his game back out to the 3-point shot? Or do you think that this is something where, okay, he runs that high pick and roll well, he plays around the rim well, and this is why we brought Kelly Olynyk in. So when Luke Kornet can play that rim running center and Kelly Olynyk could be the one off the bench who brings that perimeter shooting. What are your thoughts on that and those two guys specifically, but their roles with this team going forward?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I didn't see he didn't take a 3 last night in the scrimmage, and if you're going to take a 3, I feel like that's the time to do it. Just because it's kind of a low stakes type thing, and the crowd's there. So if you make one, then they're going to go bonkers. So he didn't take one. So I don't know if that's a sign. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I think for him, number one is the defense. Like if the defense, and that's the whole team though. Mitch Johnson comes in. He was here last year, filling in for Pop, young coach, taking over, and they want to start with a defensive mindset. If you go inside the practice facility, defense is all over the place. So that's why Luke was brought in, I think, mainly for defense. And if you can be around the rim and be an option on offense as well, that'll be great. Maybe he takes a couple threes. I don't know. Yeah. They let the other 7-foot guy shoot 16 of them. So let him fly. Why not? If he's going to be successful at it, let's go. Let's do it. But I think it's the defense that's really going to be his primary thing, cleaning up on the offensive glass, little lobs here and there. Yeah. I think that's probably where he'll fit in, but I wouldn't be surprised if he jacks up a couple, but he didn't last night, so I don't know.
Yeah. There's clearly a lot of optimism surrounding the Spurs this season. What do you believe is a realistic goal for the Spurs this upcoming season? What do you believe the outlook is for the team from where they finish at the end of the year?
Yeah, I mean, you ask the players or you ask Coach Mitch, they just want to start feeling that winning feeling again and getting better. I mean, they made progress last year, and it was sort of stalled because of Victor's blood clot and all the other things that happened with the Spurs. I mean, there was so much that happened last year, and it was my first year, and it was insanity.
It was a packed year.
But that's just the way the NBA goes, right? It's a long season, stuff happens. But, I think their general manager, Brian Wright, has talked about having this maturity that there hasn't been there in the last couple of years. And they are young still. You have Wembanyama, you have Castle, you have Harper. Fox is 9 years in or whatever, but he's still younger. And so, but they're mature because they've gone through stuff early on. Keldon Johnson's been there. He's the longest tenured Spur. He hasn't seen a ton of winning, but he has a chance to, if they do win, put himself in that 6th man of the year conversation. Devin Vassell's been around, as a proven 20-point per game scorer. These guys have seen a lot in the league. They just haven't seen that winning. So if they translate that, the team isn't putting we have to make the playoffs this year, or we have to be the 3 seed, or we have to be the 5th seed. They're not thinking about it that way. And so I just think if you see a improvement on the defensive side with the shooting, late game executions, I think they were under 500 in clutch games. So if at the end of games, if you see a massive improvement that's where you're going to see this team take the next step. And Harrison Barnes talked about it on media day too, guys. He was asked, is this team ready to win? And he said, yes. Now in the West, you could win 40-ish or 5 games, still might not be good enough to make the playoffs. It's going to be super hard this year because the West is loaded. If you're in the East, it's a totally different conversation. That's why I think the Celtics still have a shot to be, decent is because the East is weak and they still have stars, right? They still have good players. So it'll be interesting to watch this team progress. I think there's not pressure at the start of the year. I think there's a ton of change. The coaching staff, there's a couple new additions for Coach Mitch. New players are coming in, so it may take a month or two to really feel the improvement. But this team will get rolling, I think. And if they are in that playoff conversation, I would assume Victor is going to be in the MVP conversation because his numbers are going to be that good. So that's I think how the organization is looking at it. Just improve and get better and start winning with impact.
And you mentioned the Eastern Conference and the Boston Celtics, and of course, growing up in a Celtics community, you're pretty close with that team as well. What is your outlook on the Celtics this upcoming season? Obviously, you mentioned a lot of injuries, but still very good players, very good establishment at the top of the roster, and a not so great, not so strong Eastern Conference. What is your outlook for the Celtics this season?
Yeah, it'll be interesting. My mind automatically goes to, like, everyone obviously talks about Jaylen Brown, and no doubt he's going to have a monster year. Anyone can say that. Peyton Pritchard, 6th man of the year, likely will start. That'll be great for him. He can average 15 or 20 points per game, maybe. Who knows? I think Derek White has a chance to potentially be an all-star. And that's a former Spur, right? And so they love him here. He is beloved by this organization. Yeah. He's a Colorado Buffalo, so that goes back to my college, announcing, right? Like, his head coach, Tad Boyle, loves him to death. And I heard a lot of Derek White stories. He's from Colorado, and he's been out there in the summers, and I've went to his camps. I covered his camps. I've interviewed him, and he has a chance to do special things this year, I think. He's so talented, and he's such a nice guy. He does everything you want on the floor. It was that's a tough trade to make if you're the Spurs, saying goodbye to somebody who you've groomed and have made into this ultimate professional. They weren't winning, so they had to do it. But he's a guy that would also fit in super well right now on their team, right? But I think he has a big opportunity to go off and potentially make an all-star team. I think they'll be, probably in the playoff hunt. I think that's fair. I don't know if they'll be a top 3 seed, but I think they'll be in that playoff hunt. The last playoff spot's number 6. So if they're somewhere in there and can make some noise, and a lot of video out there about JT getting on court and feeling great. So who knows what the timeline is on that? If he comes back, then if he's back, all things are on the table. All options are on the table.
Right.
This is a harder question to ask about the situation because of the said injuries that we've seen Wembanyama and Jason Tatum go through in the past year or so. Where do we see those two amongst the NBA right now? And when looking forward to the future, those are the two faces that people will say are going to be the next heads of the league. And what do you expect from them in the upcoming future? And do you see Wembanyama exceeding or matching the legacy and accomplishments Jason Tatum has reached within the tenure in his career?
Yeah, that's a good question. They're both obviously, Victor's a little bit younger than Tatum, and it's wild. I mean, Wembanyama is 21, guys, and he's already doing amazing things and should probably have 2 Defensive Player of the Year awards already. He was going to win it last year until he got hurt, so he'll have a bunch of those racked up, I think, in the next decade. And Tatum, if he wins another championship, like, that's going to just bring him that much higher. He's already a top 5 or 7 player, right? And I think ESPN ranked Wembanyama as number 5 this year. It'll be really, really interesting to see when Tatum gets healthy, his numbers compared to Victor's, because there's so many options on both teams, and it is a numbers game to some extent, right? But it's also about the rings. And Vic wants to win. He's ultra competitive in everything he does. He loves chess.
Yeah,
super competitive at chess. And so if he gets to that point where he can win, that's going to put him in that discussion with Tatum and some of the other stars around the league. Like people say, is Anthony Edwards going to be the next face of the league? And you have to get to that finals or win a championship to be in that discussion. So Tatum has that, right? Like
Right.
he is there because of that. And so I would love it if those two guys are sort of dueling for years to come. Like that would be amazing to see, this American-born superstar in Tatum, star at Duke, has saved at the Celtics his whole career, has followed that tradition and legacy. And then Victor, who's this international superstar who fits the Spurs culture in the city to a T, is trying to revive this franchise, who's won 5 titles and is trying to be the next, Tim Duncan for this community. And so for both of them to be battling for years to come like that, that's going to make this league better. And so I think they both equally have a chance to be the face of the league. I think Victor has a chance to be one of the greatest players ever if he's healthy, just because of the way he plays on both sides of the ball. His body is just completely different than anybody else. He's put on muscle. He said he's put on weight this offseason. He's had the hardest offseason he's ever had. He talked about his training regimen. He went out to train with Harrison Barnes' trainer this summer out in California, and they do things very differently than a normal NBA trainer in terms of putting themselves in certain situations with constraints and situations. So Victor's always challenging himself. No doubt Tatum has his own ways of training as well. So the league's in a great spot, I think, with those two guys, Anthony Edwards, Shea. Like, the next wave is here. But I also do want to give respect to the old heads. Like, LeBron is still here, which is crazy. For me to sit and do a LeBron game was nuts. I mean, I did 2 or 3 of them this year. Just to see him up close and personal was crazy. Curry still firing away on all cylinders. Like, those guys, Kevin Durant, still here, still producing, still stars. So when they're officially gone, I think that's when that next conversation will happen. Everyone's kind of jumping the gun slightly, because until LeBron or Curry's here, like, they are still the NBA, right?
Right. Throw CP in there too. You guys had CP last year.
CP, shout out the point guard. That was awesome too, to see his leadership. And a lot of stuff was said about Chris Paul throughout his career, and I think not a lot of people really know him. And he made such an impact in the locker room, impact on Victor. Like, he'll carry that through his career.
And speaking of your career as well, in the media, I mean, we do a lot within the community and obviously within our own selves here. But what has been the most fulfilling part of your media career thus far? What is the thing that you wake up and go, man, I get to go to work because of this every single day? It's
getting to love my job. I can't imagine waking up and being like, I have to go to work. This sucks. Like, I've never said that in my life.
Right.
Literally ever. Because in college, maybe in college, I was like, I have to go to class. It sucks. But like, after that, it's been nothing but I can't wait to go cover this game or go broadcast this game. I think the relationships that I get to build with the players are special. Getting to talk to them on the court pregame is my favorite part of my job, because I get that access, right? And I get to really understand these guys at a different level and just check in with them from time to time. Not bother them, like, let them do their thing, but we travel with the team, so we see these guys everywhere. And I love just propping them up and giving them their love and their shine. And when they do amazing things on the court, talk about it, celebrate the game. The NBA this year is going to be about celebrating and educating the game. Mm-hmm. A lot of the stuff you guys see, like the hot take stuff, like, they sort of want that to go away, and they want just to celebrate the game and educate people about it. So
preach.
That's what I'm going to try and do a lot more of this year. I'm not like the hot take guy anyway, but you know who is. Like, there are people out there. So, and that's their job. Like, that people have jobs, but I love my job because it's not that. I get to celebrate and educate the game, and I get to sit next to a guy in Sean Elliott who was a 2-time All-Star, who won a championship in '99, who is one of the most well-respected people in our community. People love him. He is a celebrity. He is the nicest guy of all time. He signed off on me getting this job We vibed really well when we had dinner, when we met for the first time. Like sitting next to him and learning the game and seeing it through his eyes, because he has that old school mindset, but he also understands the changes in the game with the 3-pointers and all that stuff. And like Victor is not running away from that. Victor will shoot threes. He's a 7-footer, will shoot threes. So to see Sean sort of shift his mindset a little bit in that, like that's the best part. So the relationship part, the mentorship part of it all, you know, I have mentors all over the league that have helped me get to where I am. Like that is cool. And I'm trying to help the next generation. Like whenever a journalist or announcer reaches out to me to watch their film, to give them feedback, like I'm always there, because guys like Kevin Harlan and Brian Anderson, who are my 2 mentors, did that for me ever since I was, 17, 18, interning at the Garden or whatever age it was. So I love that part about it too, is that everyone's trying to help each other. There's no bad blood. Taylor Swift reference. Yeah. I'm a Swiftie, so I just put it out there. There's no hatred towards announcers, because we all have the best job in the world. So it's a brotherhood, it's a sisterhood, because of a couple women announcers in the league. Like we are all one. So I think that's the best part about it.
And as you are doing with us right now, we're 3 young men trying to make our names known within the broadcasting and media of the Boston Celtics. And it's really, as I've began taking on this position, it's kind of reflected it more. The job is much more than what the job description entails. It's a lot more being able to connect with people within your community, being able to connect with these mentors. You had an awesome opportunity last week to unveil the Red McCombs Community Court in San Antonio, Texas. And you've also done some great work to represent Cape Cod and the Mashpee Wampanoag tribes with wearing a tie representing your heritage and the locals of Mashpee, and being able to almost encapsulate and see how communities come together behind the Boston Celtics or the San Antonio Spurs, and it's a much larger than life thing, and you are able to help me create that. What is kind of the experience, and what helps that drive you to continue expanding upon that from a local level to a national level like you have?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I think that's another cool part about my job, is that I have a platform, I have a voice, I have a microphone, and a lot of people in my community don't. And not a lot of people even know about Native Americans. You know, some people think Native Americans don't exist anymore. So that's just not true. I grew up not really knowing a ton about my family's history. And so I've kind of been on this 4 or 5 year journey of diving deeper, reading, learning, being more invested. And I sort of, when I was in Denver, got this idea of how can I express myself in that culture on TV? And I was like, I can wear like a Native American tie or jewelry. And so my cousin made me that bolo tie that I posted about. And the first time I wore it in Denver, it blew up on social media. People loved it. And every time I wear it since, I think it does 2 things. It raises awareness and it teaches. And because people sometimes don't know. And so they will message me and say, hey, what was that? What were you wearing? It looked beautiful, but what is that? What's the story behind it? And it's a chance for myself to talk about my culture. Sean is a big part of this too. He loves that. You know, Sean and I are 2 minorities in the same broadcast booth, and that's pretty rare. So I cherish that, and he'll call me by my Native American name, which is Strong Oak. We'll talk about it on the air. There's a big Native American community here in San Antonio, a 14,000 year history of people being here before anybody else. And when I got hired, there were comments online of, wow, he looks like us. You know, wow, he's Native American. Like that's cool, because it's been the same for a long time in the league, right? The same sort of announcer look. And so to do that, to be in the community, to connect with them. And now the Spurs signed Lindy Waters, who's one of 4 Native American players in the league. And so we're working towards having a Native Indigenous night at the Spurs, which Patty Mills used to do because he's Native Indigenous to Australia. And we're going to start that back up with the Spurs and bring in the community here. And so that's great. Doing stuff. I love basketball. So going out to Red McCombs, who was the owner that brought the Spurs to San Antonio from Dallas when they were in the ABA, the Dallas Chaparrals, to San Antonio. They dedicated a court to him, and to be there to open it was great. And then to host just basketball, pick up basketball there with the community was great. This city loves basketball, man. It's a basketball city. They live and breathe it and will die for it. It's everywhere. That's why I love it here so much. And so just to be in the community, to give people that perspective, that voice, is inspiring. It's amazing. And I just, I want to keep doing that. I think that's part of my job too. So it's not just on the court stuff. I do speaking events for the Spurs. I MC events. I'll go out and speak to Native American communities across the country. I did like 3 of those this year. So showing those communities, hey, you can do this. It's not just the person you see on your television. You can be that person you see on your TV. So if they see me do it, they can do it. And so I don't know. It's a cool thing that I've tried to lean in on the last 4 or 5 years, and it's only the beginning. I think we're going to do big things with it moving forward.
And hearing your perspective on your career and your involvement in the community, I mean, it's very refreshing. It's very motivating, inspiring. I mean, you're a very admirable character, I will say that, and everything you've done in your career. I mean, that is definitely something we look at, and we admire it. I mean, we admire it from afar and go, we want to be that one day. So, I mean, having you on here, we're super grateful to have you on this broadcast. It is going to bring us to time today. So, Jacob, thank you for joining CTW Special Edition. One more thing, though. Anything to plug at the end here? Anything to plug?
Not really. I think just the whole thing, right? Just the whole Spurs thing.
The Spurs.
People are now the Spurs. People nationally are talking about the Spurs again. Yeah. And this community has been starving for winning basketball. Yeah, I sort of equate it to the Patriots. Like, we grew up winning for 20 years, and the Spurs were winning for 20 years. They had Popovich, we had Belichick. They had Timmy Duncan, we had Tom Brady. Like, very, very similar things. Right. And now as Patriots fans, we're hungry again. Like, it's been losing, hasn't been great. And that's how this community here feels. And so finally they feel that, they see the light at the end of the tunnel. They see that shifts. So I just think celebrating the whole Spurs culture, I think, is going to be super important going forward. And it's going to be a great year, healthy all the way around. Hopefully the Celtics are healthy. Hopefully everyone's healthy in the league, and we have a great year. So I'm just happy to be in the league and get to do what I wanted to do since I was a little kid. So thanks so much for having me, guys. This was great. Absolutely. Sturgis is the best high school of all time. And
IB for all.
IB for all. Let's go.
We appreciate it very much, man. We enjoy your time, and we enjoyed the conversation for sure. So thank you so much.
You guys.
Yes, 100%, Jacob. And everybody, do not forget to like, subscribe, and turn on those post notifications to the Celtics Talk Weekly YouTube channel. We will have a lot more content for you guys throughout the season. This is, I mean, we've done this many times, but this is only the start of the 25-26 season. For me, Seamus Zarlingo, Justin Lowe, Nick Franco, and our special guest, Jacob Tobey, thank you all for watching. And of course, thank you, Jacob, for joining the program today.
Thank you, guys.